use this episode to talk about the notion of time. Time is something that we literally refer to all the time. And time is a necessary tool within the framework of our society. It is how you know how to show up for your responsibilities, stay connected with other people, know when to watch your favorite show, whatever it may be. However, do we put too much pressure on ourselves when it comes to time? Has time itself become something that has a grip on us, that has a hold on us in a way that isn't healthy, that isn't fulfilling? Are we fearing time when we actually have the chance to embrace and expand upon it? Let's explore.
Danielle Mercury. It's time for the show with Danielle. Welcome to the show. Danielle Mercury. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
So, time is something that is always on my mind. I'm always curious about time. Does time really exist? Is time an illusion? Is the reality that we're currently living in actually now, or is now a fractional experience of many things coexisting at once? Are we the past, present, future all in this singular slice of breath that you just took? Always my exploration, always my curiosity. If you don't know, I conduct past life and future life regressions. I am always looking at astrology in a way to make sense of how the world is computing, to look for patterns. It's fascinating to me. And yet, I also clearly embrace time for what it is from a calendar, timely scheduling perspective. And today, time was put on the forefront for me when I was looking at my Instagram memories, which I do I'd say a couple times a week. I'll remember and I'll kind of go into my stories and look at my on this day. I know you can do it on Facebook. I mean, you can literally do it on your phone right now. You can go into search, put in today's date, and you can see what you were doing, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, however far back your phone memory goes. And for some reason, the memory today just really landed. And this picture of me looking really cute, showing off my juicy booty up in the Grand Tetons in Wyoming. And it said 3 years ago. And for some reason, that completely caught my attention. I was like, 3 years ago? What? That in that moment, and even still right now, 3 years ago doesn't feel that long. And yet, when I think about what my life has looked like since that photo was taken, it feels like I've lived a completely other life. Now, I do think time is accelerating, and that is because of technology, because of how connected we are to each other. Things are moving faster than ever. So, of course, the understanding and the way that we coexist with time may feel faster, and that may feel why I've done so much more growth within the 3 years than maybe what I would have thought prior. But regardless, it shook me for a moment. I was like, "Wow, I would have said that was at least 5 years ago." And again, what does that even mean, right? What is the concept of 5 years versus 3 years mean, right? It goes to show us that time is actually non-linear. We use it in a linear way because we need to create certain things to allow functionality. Okay, I'm not going to teach us on how we use a clock. But we have this calendar system, we have this time clock system that we use. Great. Okay. Yet, we do not all work with time in the same way. We know that because why are some people always late? Why are some people always early? I like to be the person that's like a minute early. That's like usually my jam. I don't like being too early. I do not like being late. Does it happen? Sure. But then there are these like interesting moments where I might be running late and I say time works in my favor and I arrive on time. We all have interesting relationships with time. Some people could say, wow, that felt like yesterday. Someone could say, wow, that felt like a year ago. I'm saying right now, oh my gosh, those 3 years that have passed feel like 5 years. That's because I have my own unique relationship with time. So if I have my own unique relationship with time, then that means that time is not really linear. Time is actually non-linear, and we find our own roundabout ways to relate to it, which then goes to show you once again that time is bendable. Time is often an illusion, and that's a beautiful thing. The fact that time is bendable, the fact that time can be something that you have your own unique relationship with is a godsend, really, because that means that time gets to be on your side. That means that time gets to be wired in a way that makes sense for you. That means that there's no right or wrong way to navigate your timeline. And that's why we're also in an age of awakening. And in this age of awakening, a lot of us are like waking up to the fact that, like, wait, I don't like this timeline. I don't know if I want to go to college when I'm 18 and then after college find a job and then find the job and then get married by this age and then have kids by this age. I mean, I'm 40. Yes. I'm 40 in the concept of this earth that we live in. And there's a lot of fears around my biological. I don't have the fears, but I know a lot of my peers that are around this age have, or even I would imagine individuals that are younger have ideas or thoughts around their biological clock. Biological clock is ticking. Well, of course it is. You're living, you're breathing. And please note, I do not want to minimize anyone's experience with fertility if you are having issues. So let's make that very clear and very known. I'm saying it more from a broader perspective that I don't think it is healthy for us to keep putting so much restriction and fear and like this countdown energy around time, especially as it relates to our bodies and aging. Because once again, we recognize that even aging is a unique experience. How come everyone doesn't look exactly the same? It's because as we get older, we recognize, we can see in people's physicalities that we clearly have our own unique relationships with time because we look different. Why can one person, quote unquote, look one way at 50 and another person look completely different? As far as like, if you stack these two people together and you asked other people to guess how old they are, they may not compute. Why is that? Because that shows that those two people have two different relationships with what being 50 means. So that's something to think about, because when we're born, we all kind of look the same when we're first born, for the most part. Overall, most babies, let's put to the side like skin type or weight, but like for the most part, you could look at a human that was just born and be like, yeah, that's a baby. That's a newborn. We know that. That's a newborn, usually up to the year 1, right? Like, okay, that baby's like under 1. But then all of a sudden, it really only takes past the year of 1, kids age differently. And then it just even gets like more and more spread apart the quote unquote older we get and the more that we exist. Maybe instead of saying older, because I don't know. I think, yeah, exist is a better word than getting older. So that goes to show that we're all kind of moving in our own pace and our bodies are adapting accordingly. And then we're seeing that. So I share all of these like little examples to give you permission to recognize time being your ally. And also looking back in your life to when you had moments where maybe you didn't follow a certain timeline, you did something different, like what I did. I didn't know 3 years ago that we would still be in the brunt of a pandemic. I didn't know that I would feel called to leave Philadelphia. I didn't know that I was going to get really into national parks and hiking. I didn't know that one day I would then move to South Carolina and I would meet a handful of beautiful people that I now call really dear friends. I didn't know that eventually that timeline in Greenville would expire and then I would go explore Austin. And then time would bring me back to Greenville for the rest of the summer where I'm headed next week. And I get another chance to see what my time could be like. What if time is just a opportunity to be curious? What if time is just a reminder that we just came here to see what's up? We just came here to explore. And sometimes we're like, damn, this world's a little crazy. I don't know. I volunteered for this. Yeah, you did. You could because you wanted to observe and you wanted to participate and you wanted to show up. And you wanted to see what could happen. What if that was it? What if we went back to the parameters that your soul had when you came to this earth? When you came to this earth with like, yeah, okay, it's going to be stacked. There's going to be challenges, there's going to be lessons, there's going to be love, there's going to be adventure, there's going to be learning. And I'm going to see what's up. And then when it feels complete, I'm going to bounce. However, somewhere along the way, we forgot that we had this pretty open idea of coming down here. And then all of a sudden, we started to buy into the narrative of the powers that be that gave us time. Look who created our calendar. Look who created our clocks. Well, they're not very smart because, okay, you look at the Gregorian calendar, we have leap years, okay? The calendar doesn't even fit. It doesn't match with astrology and the astrological patterns of the lunar cycles. And then even the clocks, what do we get? We got to turn the clocks back because we don't have it quite right. Like what? What? Okay, so the powers that be that created these time systems also then created this narrative of how we're supposed to age and how we're supposed to show up within the society that we live in. You look at, I didn't do research ahead of time about this, it just occurred to me. I feel like all of my notes that I wrote about this, I'm not even looking at. But you think about the blue zone areas on Netflix, there's this show called The Blue Zone. And he visits these different places out the world where people live longer, where they're healthier. Huh. What is it that they're doing? How are they living? How are they showing up? How are they eating? How are they existing? How are they helping each other? Things to think about. You can do that too. It's very easy to look at how your community or how your job or how your family or how your friends have set up their lives and compare yourself and be like, I'm not enough. I'm not there yet. My big thing is, oh, I wasted so much time. And look, yeah, there have definitely been times I've wasted time where I have not completely stepped into my potential. And part of that was because of certain things I was going through, certain trauma that had held me back, certain aspects of my brain and being neurodivergent. Could I have gotten help and support sooner? Sure, absolutely. But I didn't. And so I can sit here and I can think about all the time I wasted, which then does what? Oh, waste more time because you're saying I'm someone that wastes time. So I'm letting the universe know I'm pissed that I wasted time. I'm going to spend more time thinking about how I wasted time. So let's just keep that going. And then maybe if we're up for it, let's find another opportunity that I can waste. And we see that that becomes a reoccurring loop. The cool thing about time is once it's your ally, once it's on your side, once you realize it's bendable, you can boop, boop, pull the reins. You can end the loop. You can stop the cycle and you can create a new one. I believe that we were sent here in the likeness of our creator. We were created. We also are creators. So we get to create time. Why is it that some people live to the lifespan that they do? And I know we could go into a morbid route too of what about people whose lives have ended too early. I don't want to focus on that right now. I want to focus more so on you making the most of right here and right now. So that if perhaps there's this perceived notion of, oh, their life ended too early, you could, from the other side, be like, no, it didn't. I lived so much life within what you think was a short life. I'm good. Because it keeps coming down to there's no right or wrong way to live. For some people, living 50 years is exactly enough. For others, it's living to 110. And we don't know how it's going to go. But we do know that we have more of a choice than we give ourselves credit for. And I really believe, especially in these current chaos moments, that we also look at how we're investing our time and how the world is operating. We're moving through a uncertain election. Be informed. Check out what's going on. But how much are you going to be doing that? How much are you going to be talking about it? How much are you going to be bringing it up? It's the number one small talk conversation right now. What do you think about the election? I'm not going to waste my time talking about it with you all. I'm aware of it. I know I'll get updates. I'm pretty sure I don't need to keep checking the news to find out what's next. We're going to find out. There's going to be, I actually think my prediction, I was telling my dad last night cuz he's very invested in what's going on. And it's not to say that I'm not. I just don't need to watch it for hours every day. But I said by July 23rd, if you're listening in quote unquote real time, I think we'll have a better idea of what's going on when it comes to our candidates. So that's my little prediction. And in the meantime, I'm not going to focus on it until July 23rd, and then I'll check back in and be like, I wonder if my prediction was true or not, and we'll find out. So, historically, we have always been fascinated by time. I imagine when we first came onto this earth, back, Neanderthal, dawning of time type of era, we recognize, oh, this human body that we're in, it seems to get bigger and goes through growth stages. Oh, the animals, the trees, they all seem to move in that fashion as well. Ooh, look at the lunar cycles. Ooh, look at how the sun sets. So there's always been a understanding of, okay, this is how kind of this planet operates. So knowing how this planet operates, what is my role? And what if you could go back in your own life like that and be like, whoa, I'm not going to be told what to do in this life. I'm not going to be conditioned. I'm not going to be worried about, oh, I should get a promotion by this age. I should get this accomplished by this timeline. I should have written a book by now. Let's not play that game. Let's play the game of you were just dropped here and been like, here you go. Have at it. Have fun. Do what you want with this quote unquote time here. How might that change things? How might that shape things? I know for many of us that are defiant or maybe don't fit into a certain box, not using your time wisely may feel like an act of rebellion, but that's actually a disservice. I want you to remove the illusion of time that the powers that be have put upon you and then reconfigure time in your own way, knowing that time is a valuable resource, knowing that time is unlimited, knowing that time is here for you at all times. What would you create? What would you do? And some people might say like, well, wouldn't that just make you lazy? Not really, because it would take the pressure off. If there was no pressure of time and you were just existing, what would you be doing? Yeah, maybe you'd have like a couple lazy days. But then eventually, like once you kind of get into the groove, kind of like a little bit of like a detox, right? Like once you detox from societal time and then you're given the freedom of your own time, how does that change things? What would you want to be doing? How would you want to be living? Maybe you'd be traveling more. Maybe you'd be in the arts more. Maybe you'd be writing. Maybe you would want to be in that office job. I'm not saying that if you don't buy into linear time, you can't have a corporate job or you can't work, a traditional within our society role. You just might like it a little better. You might just have a little bit more of a ease about it. You might have a better way of going about how you structure your hours or your vacation. When I was in a space where I was really ready to leave my corporate job and I knew I wasn't quite there yet, it wasn't the responsible thing to do within that space, I let go of the pressure of that job, especially around what it meant to be there from a time perspective. I recognized I was good at my role, that it was supporting me, and that I was doing what I needed to. My boss was happy. So I was like, okay, that's the case. I know that eventually I will be stepping out of this role. And I know I will be moving into a life that I believe will be more on my timeline. How can I play with this a little bit? All right, I'm going to need to create better boundaries about when I'm leaving. I need to say, like, hey, on these days of the week, I have to leave at 5:30. It's non-negotiable. I would start to work from home on the days that my boss was traveling because I didn't need to exist in an office. That was my choice. That was my decision to make that because that's how I wanted to spend my time. I didn't want to commute. I didn't want to go in and sit at a desk where the person I worked for wasn't even there. I started being more mindful of my vacations and having it as something to look forward to so I didn't feel so stuck going in. And it made the relationship with that job so much healthier that it gave me more energy to get my side business going, which is my current business. So it's kind of breaking free in your own terms and recognizing you don't have to be an entrepreneur or someone that has an unlimited trust fund to do this. Okay. Time is fluid. And it also brings us to this point, especially if you're feeling like you've wasted time. And look, like I know this isn't so black and white, but this is just a perspective I wanted to play with and talk with you, especially from a more quantum perspective. There's a reason why there's a saying that you're exactly where you're meant to be. That it all happens within due time. Why do we say that? You are exactly where you need to be. Because we know that technically that's all that exists, and technically that is on purpose. You are on purpose right now. And you can look back on your past and you can say, well, I didn't do this, but what have you done in turn? And what could you do right now? Okay, yeah, maybe you didn't do X, Y, and Z. So let's talk about now. And that shows right there that you're exactly where you need to be. Yeah, maybe you weren't exactly where you needed to be before from your perspective. Okay, but you are now. So knowing that you are now, where do we go from here, my friend? Your choice, your freedom, your desires. You're exactly where you need to be. And when you're questioning it, it's probably even more the case that you are exactly where you need to be. I definitely know that being where I am right now. I'm like, damn, how did I get here? And it's like, because you got here, because this is where you landed, because I made personal choices based off of things that I hadn't quite learned yet that brought me to where I am now, that brought me to certain realizations that I'm now leveraging to move forward. Great. Doesn't mean, and what, it doesn't mean that it's going to be great all the time, or that's going to be perfect. But there can be a part of you that can rally and feel a little bit more at peace with the fact of knowing you've never wasted any time. You've never done anything wrong. You are on your own unique timeline. You are exactly where you need to be, and it's all happening in due time. And if there's something that hasn't happened yet, lean in, reach out, see where you're feeling disconnected to it. See where there might be mistrust around it. Notice where you're doubting, where you're lacking faith. Okay? So remember, time is an ally, and time is not meant to be fed with your fears, with your worry. And time definitely doesn't want to have power over you. It doesn't. Your clock isn't sitting over there like, I got them. I got them in a hold. That's an illusion. The idea that time and aging is working against you is something that you decided to agree with. And you decided to rally around other people that agree with it too. But that narrative gets to stop. My friends know that I don't really bitch about aging, because why would I? I don't want to do that. Like, my body, this life, and how I exist is all I have. So why am I going to be negative about the process? Why am I going to be in this crazy cyclone of how soon enough my health is going to deteriorate, my body is going to destruct? Okay. If it does, I'll deal with it then, because I'll be exactly where I was meant to be. But I really don't feel like exactly where I'm meant to be is in a place where I worry about where my body may or may not be in 5 years. That's not the best use of my time. Interesting. Interesting. So I encourage you to sit with this a little bit. What would it mean to be a little bit more timeless? What would it mean to take a little bit more ownership of your own time? What would it look like to sit down and redefine the terms of your life as a creator, knowing that time is on your side and knowing that you haven't wasted it and knowing that you're exactly where you need to be? Because what I will say from the energetics going on right now, we are wiping so much of the past out. It's almost like, what is it, 7 years? Like, let's say you have like a credit issue. After 7 years, it gets wiped out. That's kind of what feels like going on right now. A lot of the stuff from your past is just being wiped out, it's being cleared. It's like, okay, it's been 7 years, you're good. Moving on. Let's go. And if it were the case of someone that had that credit card, I don't know what that's called, but like a deficiency or whatever on your, what's it called, credit card report, credit card report, credit report, credit report. So let's say you had something that was considered not great on your credit report, on your credit score, and 7 years have gone by. Phew, it's been wiped clear. It's gone. It's not on your report. People aren't going to see it when they pull up your credit score. You now have a choice. Do I want to go back and get that negative remark again? Now that it's been cleared, do I want to go just put myself back into debt and not pay off my bill? Do I want to go rack up a credit card and then ignore it? You could, and then you'd be right back where you started. Or you could say, wow, what a gift. The past has been cleared, and I am going to be mindful of how I utilize credit cards going forward. Same for you. Without the past has been cleared, and I'm going to be mindful of how I utilize this life going forward. What if it could be that simple right now? What if it's meant to be that simple in a world that feels really chaotic? So play with this. Play with your own personal timeline. Reflect on your own journey. Notice what's changed over the last year. And notice how you could really embrace that, rally around that, commit to that, and then leverage that going forward. You are exactly where you need to be. It is all coming together. Keep creating, keep existing, keep staying open. I freaking love you.